I was thinking. I had to stay in a hotel recently because I was in a city where I have no friends or nook that I've hollowed out of the ground up in the hills where the shepherds hear the voices, and where the police have already warned me about standing in the same spot in a bus station for 8 hours, so every city in the world. And I suddenly realised as I was staring up at the stucco ceilings, listening to the hum of the same 15 minutes of CNN repeating itself, punctuated by the muffled banging of doors, as if I was living in the most tedious deleted scene from Groundhog Day where Bill Murray's next door neighbour plays 4 of Lou Reed's Metal Machine music LPs simultaneously, that my room had no kettle. What the cocking shit, I said to myself as I sat up to make sure there wasn't some hidden tap or vent or replicator. Well, how the hell am I meant to drink my Malcolm X tea now, City View Hotel? I can't even boil water and I'm not mixing it with good Dr. Pepper. That stuff doesn't come cheap, you know. I don't think I've ever had a nice time at a hotel. Not to say I haven't been to some nice ones, but I've just never got into one and said, oh yes, there's the bed, there's the floor, and there's the TV with the remote control glued to the wall, and there's the safe I will inevitably seal my passport, money and trousers into even though I wasn't leaving the room, and conclude that yes, this is exactly what I want, and it totally is worth spending 5 times as much on per day as it would cost to rent an entire house. I know I sound like an air raid siren that's been stuffed with grape sandwiches, as what I've just described is exactly what you want a hotel room to be, but god they're depressing. It's like waking up one morning to find out you've turned into Al Gore. Most I can't remember at all, but the worst one was a place in Lucknow that was ostensibly really nice because they had an air conditioning unit and walls all the way to the ceilings. Not a place I wanted to stay, but everywhere else was booked because that's how hotel scams work, you chumalamas. It was clean and tidy, and the only weird thing was that they had a sit-down toilet that looked like one you might find Henry VIII sitting on reading a copy of the Sunday Sport, but that didn't really bother me because hell yes, toilet paper. And you can't call me a whiner if I'm happy about there being toilet paper, but my experience at Swastika Inn, yes it was called that, was ruined when I sat down to take a dump and realised that no, I wasn't sat on a toilet bidet combination, but, and are you ready for this? A pig on the other side of the wall had stuck its head through the hole and was licking my arse as I was taking a shit. I was pretty annoyed. They could have asked me if the pig room was alright first. But you know what, I probably had a better time there talking to the weird concierge who had dyed his hair and fingers bright orange and whose only job seemed to be pretending not to watch MTV in the lobby for glimpses of cleavage and side boob, than I did when I was accidentally employed and sent to New York, propped up in a swanky suite room in a hotel on Madison Avenue. Sealed off from the random steam vents, yellow cabs, and guys telling each other that they're fucking walking here by 18 stories and inch-thick plexiglass. I remember wishing that they had just let me make the booking myself because a half price if you sleep on the pool table type hostel would have done me just as well, and I could have used that money to not have a job with. There's something I find quite terrifying about walking into a room you know is in a building that is full of rooms that are the exact same. As if the CIA watched Men in Black and couldn't work out how to replicate their memory eraser, so they spun it around and just erased everything else from a person's life. I don't know what I'm really griping about. It's not as if I want there to be any traces of the thousands of people who must have slept, fornicated, vomited and defecated all over my room for hire. I get why they're neutral, I just find them inescapably sad, like a wedding dress in a charity shop or an old gym teacher who's getting on a bit so they've started making do geography. People go on and on about how awful motels are with a raccoon in the pool and rooms filled with people pretending not to be alive, but at least there's some sort of grimy feeling there. I had to live in one for a bit when I was pretending not to exist for tax purposes, and at least I knew where I was when the staff would get tweaked and play Destruction Derby in the parking lot at 4 miles an hour, not in the parking lot, or when old Mr. Nedich would shoot out his lights because he couldn't be bothered to reach for the switch, or when they showed me the pole in my room. Those sort of piss-stained motels are kind of fun if you know you're not going to live there for the rest of your life, which tragically many do not, and at least there's community. Stay at a Travelodge on your own, go on, I dare you. Decked out like a budget version of the hotel room from 2001 with all the lights off and the corners sanded down, they're the saddest places on earth, with windows that face brick walls and don't open because, as the duty manager said to me, we've had a few more suicides than usual. Jesus Christ, run me a bath and get me the hairdryer. Just a thought. I shared a room in Nepal once with a bird-eating spider who had the worst hygiene I've ever come across.